Hey y'all, welcome to day 5 of I was gonna say Vlogmas. But this is not Vlogmas. Should have put it as Vlogmas. But anywho, welcome to day 5 of our Mindset Reset Challenge. If you have not watched the other 4 days, go over and watch them. They was fire. I pray that this challenge have been helping you because it has been helping me. I want to hear your feedback. Like, what have you learned about this challenge so far? How do you plan on using this information and applying it? Not just this information. I'm gonna say revelations, right? Because revelations lead to transformation, right? So I want to ask you, like, how is this helping you? How can you see this helping you in your future? How can you imagine this to help you later on? How can you take this information and apply it to your life to start bearing more fruit? Like, how can you take this revelation that you have been getting from this past 4 days and start applying it? One of the things that I have learned about this challenge is that I really need to shift my mindset and the perspectives and get out of the old and step into the new. So many times we have heard that, right? Isaiah 43:18-19. Do not remember the things of old, right? But what we fail to realize is sometimes it can be harder to letting go is a process, right? So you just don't let things go because you just didn't gain everything overnight. You got to process, let it go. But being intentional about letting go is one of the things I have learned. Like, be intentional about letting go conversations, people, food, habits that no longer serve you no more. Like, start asking yourself, how is this mindset helping me? Or how is this mindset hindering me? How is which brings me to my point today. How is the way I'm seeing myself helping me? Or how am I seeing myself the wrong way hindering me? And if you can take that information and say, okay, the way I'm seeing myself is not helping me, but it's actually hindering me. If I was not seeing myself this way, then how can I reframe? If I was not seeing myself this way, how can I be starting to move differently, right? So I did not introduce myself. For those that are first time watching, I am Shanice. I help moms to heal from their past trauma so they can tap into their purpose and their full potential. I'm also an author. Heal Soul Trauma Healing from a Broken Soul. You can get the over at Amazon, which is how I got started on my journey. Just a little backstory on my healing journey. I was in an abusive relationship for 13 years. In 2017, I got tired of like not having peace in that relationship. I knew that relationship had ended. However, I did not want to end that relationship. And for one, and for two, I didn't feel like I had the strength to walk away. I had tried to walk away before and I was not successful. So I was not really encouraged that I was going to be able to sustain me walking away. I thought I was going to turn back and go back. I haven't. I'm very proud of myself. I have had like some slip ups along the way, but I'm very grateful for my process and my healing process. So let's get up into this, what we're talking about today or whatever. So we're talking about reframing our failure. One of the things that I have realized, you're probably thinking like, okay, what do that have to do with my mindset? It have a lot to do with it, and I'm going to break it down. Okay. Reframing your failure. I'm going to say this. You are not a failure. You had a failed attempt. So many times when we look back at your old life, right? Not well, your past hurt, your past pain, your past disappointments. A lot of times we take we take that the things that happen to us and we hold it. We internalize it. We internalize what happened to us. We internalize the pain. We internalize the things that they said to us, which leads to unforgiveness, and unforgiveness leads to resentment, and resentment leads to bitterness, and that bitterness leads to all type of illnesses, right? If you're someone, you're holding on to something that didn't happen, you might be living in regret and what you should have did and what you could have did, how it could have been different, right? That don't serve you. When you really think about it and sit down, like, okay, what is this unforgiveness? How is this helping me? It's not helping you. It's hindering you. And I had to just sit down with myself one day, a couple of weeks ago, like, how is me holding on to what this person did to me? How is that helping me? It's not. It's actually tormenting me and leave me in this place of torment. And the freedom is not for them, it's for me. So if I let go of what they did and said to me, I will be more free. For one, I will be able to see clearer, and I will be able to see myself in a different light because I'm not holding on to what they said, because what they said was a lie anyway. And the only reason why I took that information is because I didn't know who I was. I know who I am now. I know what God has said. Now it's just time for me to believe it, right? So just start having these conversations with yourself and just start being honest. So a lot of times we take those past experiences, that past pain. I've talked about this in I think day 2. We take that past pain and we turn it into a place of resentment, or I should have did this, or it was so much different then, or we do a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, um what you could have had did differently, or how you could have had moved differently. And what happens is, when you have those type of mindsets, y'all, what happens is you start seeing differently, which wrong, you start seeing wrong. What happens is, when you start seeing wrong, y'all, you're not able to move the way that you need to move. What am I saying? I talked about a couple days ago that you take on identities that was not yours. That's what happened to failures, right? You did not fail, right? You're not a failure. You had a failed attempt. But instead of you taking that lesson, you internalized it to make yourself think that it was true, that you wasn't enough. Um, you took it and you told yourself that, what I'm saying, you wasn't enough, or um you took it and it made you afraid to go out and step out again, because you remember how you failed last time. Or when people say to you, like, you a failure, you get angry because you like, I'm not a failure. But if you did not believe that, why are you trying to defend that? And that's one of the things that I had to learn. Like, I cannot control the what people say to me, but I can control the way I respond. I can't control the way the way they see me, but I can control the way I see myself. Let me go deeper with that. Some people have made up in their mind that they're going to see you a certain way, and they have made up in their mind that they are stuck on misunderstanding you. They don't want to understand you, and they don't want to see you differently. They are stuck on seeing you the way they want to see you. And I have learned it's a lot of projection because of the way that they feel about themselves. And if you're not strong in who you are, they will try to project their feelings and their lack of motivation, or their lack of awareness of who they are, on you, or their lack of insecurities. They will try to put it on you. Is because if you are operating, how can I put it? If they live in regret and shame, they expect you to live in it too. Because they have you ever heard that saying, misery loves company? Y'all, that's so true. Why would I want you to be happy and I'm not happy? I'm not saying me in general. I'm just saying, why would a bitter person want somebody happy around them? They want you to be pitiful just like them. They want you to be angry just like them. They want you to be bitter just like them. Why? Because they don't want to see you happy, because they don't feel like that they can be happy. They don't realize that they're doing that, right? Because they have not recognized their pain. But once they start realizing, like, man, um, not them, but once you realize, like, it's not me, it's them. And I can't control the way that they respond to the things that they do and say, but I can control the way how I respond to them, not react, but respond. And not only that, this is my self-esteem. I need to build myself up, not them build me up, right? So I want you to start looking at failure from a different perspective. I want you, this is your assignment for today, for this Friday. I want you to take the lessons out of those past pain, those past hurts, and spit the bones out. What do I mean by that? In the Bible, we see in Isaiah 58:11, God tells us that I will continuously guide you. I will satisfy your dry and scorched places inside your soul, and I will make your bones fat. But if we go over to Isaiah, I think it's Ezekiel, in the book of Ezekiel, when he was asking Ezekiel, son of man, can these dry bones live again? And Ezekiel was like, I don't know, Lord, only you know that. But what was God talking about dry bones? What was he saying? Okay, in Isaiah and Ezekiel, he said, can these dry bones live? But over here in Isaiah 58, one of the things that he promised to restore was to make your bones fat. Okay, so why is it that over here they have dry bones, but over here God said that he will make my bones fat? What is still in my bones? What is taking your virtue? What is taking your energy? Is it unforgiveness? Is it your lack of to see that those things that happened to you was not to hinder you, but it was actually to help you and to become better? How can you take So when I say spit out the bones, how can you take that shame, that regret, and that resentment and that bitterness and turn around and use that pain for your good? How can you turn that pain into your purpose? I'm gonna give you an example of one of mine. I really, really had a hard time of seeing slam doors in my face when I was younger. Many of you know my backstory. I had my first baby at 14. He died. Then I had another baby I had my first child, living child at 16. And then all my children are like this, back to back, like 16, I'm sorry, 17, 15, 14, 12, 11, 9, 8, and 7. Those are my kids' ages. So I was pregnant from 16 to the last time I had my last baby, I was like 24. So all those years I was pregnant. So imagine all those years you trying to be the best mom that you could be. You trying to make your parents happy because I was a severe people pleaser. I wanted to please anybody in my vicinity, trying to please everybody around me, trying to be the best mother I can be, trying to make sure I make some out of myself because I already felt like I was a failure. Let's talk about it. I already felt like I was a failure. And because I felt like I was a failure, because I saw myself as a failure, I acted like a failure and I lowballed all the successes I have done. I lowballed the fact that I finished high school, despite of me getting pregnant early. I lowballed the fact that I, graduated and walked the stage up, went to college and graduated on the dean's list. I lowballed that. I lowballed the fact that I became an author. Oh, I really lowballed that. I lowballed the fact that out of everything I've been through, I arised above it and created a business and a nonprofit organization off of the pains that I went through. But I was still holding on to some ashes that was making my virtue weak, that was making me tired, that was taking my virtue, right? Because my nervous system was deregulated. And so I know today I said we was going to talk about the physics of your mind, but that's tomorrow because I felt led to talk about your image, your self-image, starting to see yourself successful, starting to see yourself powerful, starting to seeing yourself resilient. Because the truth is that's who you are. But you went on and you took those failed attempts and those things that happened to you, and you identified yourself as a failure. And you are not a event. You are not a failure. You had a failed attempt. So how can you take that pain, right? Take the lessons, go through all whatever you still holding on to. Only you know that. I don't know that. Whatever you're still holding on to, because it's hindering you from stepping into this new person and no longer holding on to that old person and holding on to that old person and an old perspective on those images, right? Ask yourself, why am I holding on to this version of myself? Why am I so comfortable with her? Is it because it gives her a sense of they need me? Like, why are you holding on to the old version of yourself? Like, how is that helping you? How is that helping your future? How is that helping your children? How is that helping the next generation that comes after you? How is that helping you? And if it's not helping you, I want you to sit down and actually create a plan on how you can start seeing yourself differently and what you need to do. Do you need to go see a therapist? Do you need inner healing deliverance? Do you need a coach? What do you need in order to show up as your most valuable, powerful self? I knew I heard my phone ringing. But what do you need to do to show up as your most powerful self? So take those lessons and spit out the bones. Spit out those things that's causing you to lose your virtue. Spit out that bitterness. Spit out that resentment. Spit those things out so you can start walking as your powerful self. Because baby, let me keep it 1,000. It's not helping you. That low energy, that low self esteem, those insecurities. What do you need security in, right? Do you need security in knowing who you are? Do you need that validation? Do you need the affirmation? Maybe you're not around positive people. Start putting yourself around that. Start putting yourself in safe environments. Start putting yourself around people that you can feel safe with, because somewhere you was violated. Somewhere your respect was stolen. Something was stolen from you that you don't feel safe around the people that you're around. Start creating boundaries. Whatever you need to do, start doing it so you can start showing up as your most valuable self, because people need you. And I'm talking to myself too, because as I am creating this challenge, I am literally going through the process of shedding these mindsets that no longer serve me, because it's taking my energy. Imagine every time somebody says to you, you feel the need that you got to argue with somebody. Why do I have to prove anything to you? Why do I need to tell, like ask yourself, what am I proving to them that I really don't believe that I'm trying to believe? Because if you have made up in your life that you see myself, that you see me a certain way, then baby, okay, then that's the way you see me. It ain't got nothing to do with me. As for me, I'm gonna see myself the way God sees me. And that hinders you from being able to see right. So this is the part that I found so interesting. The other day, I'm subscribed to this channel. It's a therapist on there. Her name is, I think it's Therapy Seashell or something. Very powerful. And she talks about the psych part of your brain. And you know, there's the psych, the mental health of it, right? Like the psychology of it and things like that. And one of the things that I wrote down, I said, trauma changes the chemistry in your brain. And it's a part inside of your brain, y'all. It's called the negative bias. And what the negative bias does, when you have had so many traumatic events, you have more neurological pathways of having a negative bias, of having a negative bias, which means you have more you have more pathways that is filtering the information that you see, or your scenery, to only see the negative and not the positive. We talk about that. I know you have heard that before. Whatever you put your focus on is magnified. So imagine you have always been around trauma, and you created this mechanism, this coping mechanism to keep you safe. So always, it's kind of like the type of thinking that you had that's connected to the catastrophic thinking. This negative bias is connected to it, right? Because you have so many pathways inside your brain that is filtering information as being negative, that you always see things from a negative standpoint and never from a positive standpoint. I'm gonna give you this word: you always is pessimistic and you're never optimistic. I'm gonna give you an example for a person. It's always one thing after another. It's always something bad always happening. Every time I put 1 foot forward, I get knocked down 7 steps. That is a neurological, they have so many neurological pathways inside their brains that's open, and they are constantly activating the negative bias when they actually have. I'm gonna give it to you how the therapist said it. Our brains was not created to make us happy. However, we have neurotransmitters in our brain that helps with that, our serotonin, our endorphins, and things like that. But our brains was created to keep us safe, right? So when you was raised in a high, you cannot change the fact that you was raised in a high intensity, high, very crucial, very domestic, abusive household. You can't change that. You didn't have that safety, right? You didn't have that. You can't change that, but you can reframe it, right? And you can start telling yourself, I'm gonna start seeing things in a more positive way. I'm gonna close off those negative bias, which can be hard, but it's possible for you to do, right? So you have more those negative pathways is automatically there because you have been conducive and you created this defense mechanism to make yourself safe, so you would never even try to attempt to have anything hopeful, because you was always around things that you always around was around negativity. So what do you have to do? This negative bias, it feeds off what it feeds, and it grows, not feeds, but it produces more anxiety and depression in you. So instead of you having anticipation that something good is going to happen, you anticipate something bad is going to happen, which leads me to my next point: mental filtering, which is a coping mechanism. That, say for instance, you was raised in a household. This is not my example. This is an example from the therapist. And the mother wasn't, one thing I learned, that, and we're going to learn that, we're going to go deeper in that next week about the anxious mindset. When you didn't have that sense of safety, which means you never knew what type of day your mother was going to have. Say for instance, you never knew the type of day she was going to have, right? And because you never knew that she was not really stable, or she was not really emotionally intelligent, or maybe just both of your parents, or maybe you just didn't have that, you developed this mechanism that you needed to stay safe. Again, our brains was created to keep us safe, which is why we have the amygdala inside our brain. The amygdala lets you know when you in fight freeze, which is connected to our nervous system. So this negative bias inside our brain, you created that shield as to be safe, because you did not know what, if your mother was going to have a good day or a bad day. So you felt like, let me just go here and filter it. It's going to be a bad day. That way, when she trigger, I won't be surprised, right? So how do you get from this place of filtering negative information to a place of positivity? You got to be strategic. You got to be intentional. Ain't no just wake up one day like, oh, I'm here. One of the things I want to say, go back and all those lessons that you're holding on to, all the regret that you're holding on to, process that pain. Like, yeah, I don't think y'all understand how important it is to process your trauma. Trauma is not something for you to be delivered from. Trauma is something for you to be healed in. It's a process. Trauma is a process for you to heal. Now, can God come in and do in 1 second? Of course. But when God is calling you, in some cases, to help other people, He's seeing you through a process so you can have the tools to go help other people. Maybe you need to go see a therapist to for you to get a different view, because especially if your view have been distorted for so long, it's going to be kind of hard for you to actually see things in a different light, because you have seen that. Put it like this: you have been walking in the dark for so long, right? And you know how it is, if you wake up and you in a dark room and you see light, and how your eyes is like you swept it down, you see stuff and that's not there. Another person like, that's not there. That's because you just came out of darkness. The same what you have been filtering your life from a negative bias for so long. You have been filtering your life from this negative bias for so long. In actuality, when you come, you need a different view for somebody to give you a new perspective so you can start seeing it in a new way. So you will no longer filter things from a negative standpoint, from a positive. So process your trauma. Take that pain and turn it into a positive. What good came out of that relationship, right? You can't change the relationship, but what good came out of it? Okay, you was in and out orphanage, or you was in and out foster homes. Okay, but what good came out of it? Tiffany Haddish is a perfect example to use. She went from home to home, right? But she took the positive and she spit out the bones. She spit out the negative, right? What happened to her? She forgave, she released it, she processed, she let it go. But she took the lesson she learned. She learned how to cook Mexican food. She learned how to cook. She knew how to she ended up becoming a very good entertainer from that. She ended up learning Spanish from being in a foster home. So what good came out of it? I had to reframe my pain. All those closed doors that I went through when it was late, late getting a job. Some people start working at 16, 17. That was not my story. It took me a long time to find a job because my interviewing was horrible. However, now I can look back at that like, man, I'm a very good interviewer now. Like, you give me an interview, baby, I'm gonna have that job. So what can I do with that? Now I can go and help other people become good interviewers, right? And I mean, I'm not interviewers, but interviewees. I was horrible with a resume writing. Now I'm a beast at it. I'm telling you, I'm a monster at. You need a resume, I'm your girl. You feel what I'm saying? Now I can take that information and tweak it. I learned so much from the relationship with my kid's father. Yes, it was so like that relationship, it had a lot of bad in it, but it had some good in it. Like, it really did. Like, I learned how to cook. I learned how to cook. I end up learning, what I didn't want in a relationship, learned what I did want in a relationship. I learned who I was and who I did not want to be. I learned the fact of what happiness that was available to me. I also learned I learned a lot from that relationship. It wasn't just all bad, right? But my negative bias only filtered the negative and never saw the positive until I actually got out to start seeing things in a different view. That's why you need a new view and a new perspective, so you can start seeing things differently and start seeing how you can take this information that you learned in those past events and use it for your good, because God have good use of that pain. Another thing, if you need to see a therapist, go get a therapist. Like, what you waiting on? Look for a therapist that specializes in trauma, that specialize specifically in trauma. Because one of the things I learned about our brain, your brain was created to keep you safe, right? So now that traumatic event that happened to you, and I'm gonna finish up here. This is your brainy tip for today. That traumatic event that happened to you is now stored inside your amygdala, and your amygdala is connected to your nervous system. And you have three parts of your nervous system. You have the sympathetic system, the part of your nervous system. You have the parasympathetic system, part of your nervous system, and then you also have the automated. That is, it's not called automated. It's something with an A, but it's short for automatic nervous system, which means that it's automatic, right? It puts you in that state of thinking of that something bad is going to happen automatically because your body is trying to keep you safe. Your brain is trying to keep you safe, right? Your amygdala is trying to keep you safe. So what happens is if you're always in that defense mode or your mechanism that coping mechanism, it's going to be hard for you to start seeing things in a new way. Why? Because you're now opening your eyes. You're coming out of that place of darkness and you're coming into light. You're coming from being pessimistic to being optimistic and start seeing the greatness on the other side. That it can that greatness could come out your future. So I hope this helped y'all today. I was a little everywhere with it, but I pray that you end up getting what I was trying to say in this. Tomorrow, Lord's willing, I will be talking about um the physics, the neurological pathways, so you can understand how your brain works, and how you can start creating those new neurological pathways. And I will also dab on how you can start turning on your automatic nervous system to start being a place of rest. So your body can now rest and get out that flight, fight, freeze. Because, yeah, just come tomorrow and I will tell you the rest. Okay. See y'all.